I think one of my biggest struggles is to speak about myself, to give someone either professional background or personal background or my hobbies or about my career. For some reason, I find it very difficult and challenging to speak about myself. And not only to speak about myself, I can give, real life facts, but to speak in a way where I'll catch person's attention and interest to, let's say, be willing to partner up with me. Let's say if there was one of the big investments that I had, or a small investment, doesn't matter. How I still can figure out a way and how to speak about myself in a way where I have someone's interest to work with me.
Do you think the challenge is more like you don't feel confident in that situation, or you feel confident but you just don't know, like, tactically how to articulate the words?
I think it's more about tactically not being to articulate the words, because I know I'm awesome.
Right.
Would be a great partner. So I know all these great things about myself, and I know what values I have and what I would bring to the table.
Right.
Whichever situation comes from, either it's relationships or professional situation.
Right.
But I just don't know how to kind of express it.
So it's good that you feel good about yourself, because that's a much deeper challenge, right? You feel good about yourself mentally and emotionally, then you can always adjust your tactics and your conversation skills. You can always learn new ways of doing things, right? A couple of things that I would suggest on that is, number one, think about your audience and what they want and what they need, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we make an impact when we resonate with the audience, whoever our audience is. It could be an audience of one, it could be an audience of 50 or 1,000, right? It could be an audience of millions. Whoever your audience is, you have to research them and understand what's important to them. Okay? So, for example, if my audience is business owners, I'm going to be talking about sales, I'm going to be talking about networking, marketing, supply chain, funnel, whatever it might be. I'm not going to be talking about those things if my audience is, children. If my audience is children, I'll be talking about fun, toys, adventures, things like that. I would highlight those themes. If my audience is employees instead of business owners and entrepreneurs, employees are concerned with networking for a better job, how to negotiate a pay raise, office politics, those kinds of things, corporate dynamics, all this kind of intra-office
so
stuff.
General topics for the audience.
Well, that's your starting point.
Okay.
Right? So once you have an idea of what the audience needs and wants and what's important to them, then you tailor your message, your personal message, accordingly. Okay? So let's do an example with you. Give me an example of your at least one audience that you would be targeting to try to influence.
So one of the examples I was just thinking of while you were speaking is, let's say I'm speaking to someone who's a real estate investor, and I have a deal that I'm working on that I would like to partner up with someone on this deal and invest with me.
So that real estate investor, what's important to them? What are they afraid of? What are their challenges? What are their goals? What do you think?
And it's something I never actually thought of before.
Right.
Those are the questions I never really asked myself.
So this is a good exercise to always ask yourself from time to time, because also as business goes on, your audience changes, your business changes, the market changes. So from time to time, it's good to check in and think critically, what does my audience really need? What do they want? Okay? But for now, just kind of off the top of your head, what do you think might be like one or two major qualities?
Any investor would be looking for a way to make more money.
Right.
It's like, why would he invest in this deal rather than anything else in the world? So it has to have bigger benefits to him than anything else. It has to have financial return that makes sense to that person.
So let's focus on that aspect, right? So you got the financial return. Now, let's leave that aside for the moment. We're going to come back to that in a second. But we're just going to focus on that one particular aspect of your audience, is the desire for a good return on their investment. Now, on your side, what do you have to offer specifically related to that goal?
I could bring in my skills and knowledge as to what it takes, let's say, to make this deal property operate in a way where it will bring bigger income
Right.
rather than it was bringing at the time we're buying it
Hmm.
or what it's making currently.
So in other words, to upgrade the property, make it nicer, higher value.
Put
Okay.
management systems in place, maybe raise it to a different price point as to match the market in the area, to do research and all of that.
Right. So these are all. So the research, the maintenance, the upgrades, renovations. Right. These are all things that you specialize in. Things
Yeah.
that you have a lot of knowledge about, and that you're good at. You have a lot of experience with them. Right. Okay. So those qualities contribute to the investor's rate of return.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so now we have an idea of what the investor wants, of what your audience wants. We have an idea of what you can offer to satisfy that need. Now, how are you going to articulate that? That's the next question.
And that's the difficulty.
All right. So, exactly as you said just there, there's several bullet points, several main themes that you want to touch on. When you're interacting with an investor, you might say something like this. You might say, I know that having a good rate of return is important to you, and there's several things that we can do on my team that will increase the value of the property and thus increase your rate of return. Right? Here's what they are. Number one, renovations, upgrades. Number two, researching the market, getting a good price, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Yeah.
So you start out with the need or the challenge that they have, right? That's what gets their attention, because you're going to resonate with them, right? And they're going to say, oh wow, now I'm paying attention, I'm interested, what does she have to offer here? And then you go into specific detail. And then from there, they might ask more questions like, what specifically about the renovations or about the upgrades are you going to do that is going to make, like, are you going to add on additional features? Is it just a paint job? Is it rewiring the electrical? Like, what specifically is it going to be that is going to increase the value of the property, right? When it comes to like researching the market, how much experience do you have in this particular market, right? How does that specifically translate into knowledge of what prices to charge and so on, right? Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Like, I could see that just starting off from something as to like what will benefit the person, what is it that they're looking for. I think that would be really helpful.
That's the biggest insight, I think, right?
Yeah, it's just knowing what your audience, what your customer, whoever is wants, and starting off with that by saying like, I know this is what you're looking for, and I can make it happen for you. I can offer that by doing this and that.
Exactly. So, a great story is Apple, when they introduced the first iPod, and that was back in whatever it was, the late 90s, early 2000s. And the way they built it, because they knew their audience. If you recall, there was a lot of like mobile music devices at the time, right? But the iPod came in and completely destroyed everybody.
Everything.
So they knew their audience, they knew what was important to their audience. And so they built it as 1,000 songs in your pocket, right? Because they knew that the audience doesn't really care about all the technical features. And yes, it was a tremendous technical accomplishment in terms of the technological advancement of that device. It was amazing. But the audience, the market, doesn't really get that. They can't appreciate that. What they can appreciate is a massive number of songs in a very convenient package, right? So that's how they present it, because they knew this is what's important to the audience, so here's what we can offer, right? And then, hypothetically, if someone from the audience wants to know more, how do they fit 1,000 songs into my pocket exactly? Then, of course, they can go into more details about, the technical specifications and the new technological innovations that were, at the time, just coming on board. And so they could go from there. But at least in terms of like the headline, the main thing that got people's attention was that very simple concept.
And it's also like, it's that concept of offering something that no one else is offering.
Right.
So you have to, as a professional, I think you have to like constantly look for a way as how are you going to be different or better in a way from everybody else and everyone else's services.
Exactly. because that's where your niche comes from, right? Because everybody else is serving this need, that need. There's some need or there's some desire in the market that is not being served right now. So what is it with your skill set and your experience that you can fill that niche, that new need, right? And then you just simply go down logically and articulate that to the audience.